walking through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi racer riding out till the wheels fall off. I'm driving that. Mississippi racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine on this Monday morning. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
Doing great on an amazing Monday. Just getting ready to start the week.
Mo, let's start with this. Caitlin Clark. We talked about Caitlin Clark about a week and a half ago when she became the all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball. Mo, she has outdone herself as she is now the all-time leading scorer in NCAA basketball history. That includes women. That includes men. Tremendous accomplishment for this 22-year-old Mo. But of course, no greatness comes without its critics. And Caitlin Clark's critics came out of the woodwork this weekend as she made NCAA history. And of course, we got to talk about Piston, the Piston himself. That is the record that she broke. And Mo, the argument being made on the other side is, generally speaking, what happens when you have records that are broken in different eras of basketball. And the argument being made is that the record she broke was a record that was done in 3 years. It was a record that was done in 80-something games. She has played over 120 games. She is probably going to finish up her career just over 130 games. And that's a lot more games than it took him to break the record, to set the record. That's a lot more games. Oh, by the way, there was no three-point line back then when this mark was initially set. But now there is a three-point line, Mo. I have an issue. With all that. Mo, sports evolve, right? Can you imagine the conversations that Dan Marino and Jim Kelly and John Elway and Troy Aikman have when they all get together looking at the NFL in 2024? Can you imagine what they must think inside if they say, damn, if I was born 30 years later and I played in a league where they couldn't touch me, where they couldn't touch my receiver, where I could throw the ball over the middle of the field on a regular basis and not risk ending a guy's career. If I could do that, can you imagine the numbers I would have? Or Mo, how about running backs in 2024 who look at the league 30 years ago or 20 years ago and say, man, if I could play on a team where I was almost guaranteed a second contract, if I could play on a team where my career longevity, instead of being maybe 4 or 5 years, was probably going to be 10, 11, or 12 years. Think about the numbers that I could put up. Because a running back in today's football, Mo, they're not breaking records. They're not going to be here long enough to break records. Even if the next greatest thing in running backs was drafted this season in the draft, he's going to play 5 years. And then he's going to have to argue and finagle his way to his next contract. But while he's doing that, Mo, we know that they're going to draft his replacement. Someone that has just a little more burst. Someone that's on a rookie deal. Someone whose legs are 5 years fresher. And they're already going to start the process of replacing him. Mo, sports change. Athletes change. Look at Tom Brady's health. Look at Tom Brady's diet. Look at Tom Brady's regiment. I'm sure there's guys that played quarterback 15, 20, 25 years ago that look at Tom Brady and say, if I took care of my body like that, I probably could have played 3 or 4 more years. I could have got more out of me. But they didn't. How many players leave college basketball after a year? Whereas if they stayed 4, they could have it, right? Like, let's be honest. There are dozens of probably more. If they stayed 4 years in college, they could have the all-time record, but they don't because they don't want it, because they're going to the NBA. It is what it is. She played her career out in the NCAA. She didn't do anything wrong. She scored a crap ton of points, and now she holds the record. If somebody wants it that bad, go take it from her. If you're going to say, I don't want to be here for 4 years because I want to be one and done and go to the NBA or go to the WNBA or whatever it is, great. Go do that. But Mo, I am so tired of people being torn down because they do something great, but they don't like how long it took them to do it. Or they don't like how the game has changed to what it is today. And that's not fair for the people that were playing the game 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, Mo. Every sport has changed. Even baseball has changed. There's a pitching clock now. The bases are wider. Can you imagine some of the greatest base stealers of the 80s? Look at Ricky Henderson. Give him wider bases. What would he have done with that? Like, it is what it is. Sports are constantly evolving. Sports are constantly changing. And that's just the world we live in. Records are meant to be broken, and Caitlin Clark broke a record, Mo.
And she deserves all the credit in the world for her accomplishment. And I've heard the argument that she's played 4 full seasons, and I don't care about that. I'm a bottom line person. She is the all-time leading scorer in college basketball, men and women. And I think she's deserving of that recognition. I know people will point out Pistol Pete Meredith didn't play as many games. That doesn't mean anything to me. He left sooner. Like you said, if you want to break that record, well, you know coming in, you're probably going to have to play all 4 seasons. But the reality is we live in a time where most athletes, especially the truly gifted ones, you're lucky if they play college football for 1 season or college basketball for 1 season. But if they do, they're one and done. So they're not even thinking, like you said, they don't want it. They're not going to go, well, I'm staying those 4 years so I can get that all. They're thinking about, I got to go get this money. I got to go start my career. I got to build up my brand. That's where they're at, which means it's actually more impressive because of her dedication to her craft that she stayed. She could have left early too. And I don't think her value would have been any less. She's already established herself as one of the most gifted players to ever lace them up. So I'm not with all that bringing somebody down for when they set a record. Like you said, records are meant to be broken. I remember the night that LeBron broke Kareem's record. I thought that was an amazing night. And I celebrated it. I celebrated him and said congratulations for such a great feat, because I think people don't realize, like, you have to be healthy, you have to be dedicated, and you have to want. And that's the thing. You have to have that want to want to play that many years, be that productive. And he's actually crushed it. He didn't just break Kareem's record. He's actually pushed it out further and still counting, right? He's taken it to a whole nother level. And the funny thing is, look at LeBron's what he's done. And I don't want to take nothing away from Caitlin. I don't see anybody coming up behind him or wherever that's going to break that anytime soon. That doesn't mean it won't happen, Chris, because like you said, records are meant to be broken. But I would rather people acknowledge what he's done, acknowledge the accomplishment and the talent and the skill and dedication that Caitlin Clark has to do what she's done, because she deserves that. She deserves that shine. She deserves her flowers.
And Mo, let's not bury the lead here. Part of this is because she is a woman. And I saw many, many comments talking about, well, she didn't play against men. really? I'm sorry. The points count less. It doesn't take as much skill to get the ball into the back. I'm confused because as I look at the history books for the NCAA, Mo, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see a ton of women up there on the rankings. I see a lot of men up there on the rankings. So for the argument to come out, well, she didn't play against men, Mo. Really? That's a lot more indicative of you and not her that you want to bring that up.
Right.
So, but I do see a great point here in the chat by JG, and this is interesting, Mo. NLI is going to change a lot of this, and this does have a women's aspect to it because think about this. If you are a talented enough player to be one and done and go in the NBA draft, you're going to make money pretty quick, right?
Right.
But in all fairness, although the WNBA is a career, we know that WNBA stars are not paid equally to that of NBA stars. And it's not close. So JG in the chat brings up a pretty good point. There's a good chance if you are a really, really talented female athlete, and I completely agree with Gene. Caitlin Clark is generational. But this is the instance I'm talking about. A generational talent like Caitlin Clark in basketball for women is going to make a lot more money staying at Iowa for all 4 years.
100%.
Selling out home games, selling out road games, bringing attention to that program. She's going to make a lot more money in college than she is going to make probably in the early part of her career just from the WNBA. Now, obviously, once you bring in endorsements, she already has her Nike commercial out. Different story. But JG brings up a point. NIL, you might get some people to stay in college a little bit longer. Now, obviously, the cream of the crop, you're not going to see that, right? You're not going to see Caleb Williams stay longer because he wants more money. You might see an athlete stay longer because they want another run at a title. If they didn't win a natty in college,
Sure.
and that's important to them, sure, you might see that. But I agree that NIL plays a role in this. But again, back to my previous point, Mo, a lot of this also has to do with the fact that she's a woman. Because don't forget, and people forget this, a few years ago, this record was almost broken. And I forget the young man's name. I believe it was Antoine. It started with an A. And there was all this controversy because his college team was trying to get into a pay-to-play tournament. And he only needed 4 points to break the record, and the tournament wouldn't let his team in. And at the time, Maravich's son came out and basically said it's a disgrace that a team that has a losing record, I think his team was like 14-19 that season, can pay to extend their season, and then he's going to take down my father's record in a game where he paid to play the game or his school paid to get him into the game, and that's how the record is going to go down. And I'll acknowledge, yeah, that sucks. That sucks that he didn't do it in the regular season. But at the same time, Mo, guess what? Those are the rules. And if you don't like it, change the rule. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so tired of people getting... I'm sorry, did his previous 3,600 and something points not count? You're going to get all bent out of shape because how he scored the last 4? Like, he did score the other 3,000 plus.
Right.
So, and that's where I kind of get lost on all this stuff. Like, would you prefer to see him do it in the regular season? Sure. But at the end of the day, you don't get more points because you did it in 128 games and not 129 games. Or in his case, I think it would be 141 and not 142. That's not the way it works. If all the points count, then all the points count. And let's be honest, this was a 16-team tournament that the tournament didn't let him into. Those other 15 teams, they paid to play too. So they're all getting stats that they paid. You know what I mean, Mo? Fair is fair. So you can be upset, but at the end of the day, the record is the record. Whether it was him, whether it's Caitlin, or whether it's the next person, the record is the record.
I think we just live in a time where too many people are quick to tear you down. for whatever their reasons are. But like you said, I think when you're one of those kind of people, and there are many of them, that says more about you than the athlete themselves. I've heard somebody, I think the other day, go, well, she may break the record. Obviously, she ended up breaking it, but that doesn't make her the greatest college player of all time. And I was like, that's a different conversation. What we need to focus on is she is the all-time leader in scoring, both men and women. That is the achievement. That is what we need to acknowledge. You want to go inside that and have another conversation, that's completely different. But I think that rather than tear her down, we should be lifting her up. Women's sports are on the rise, and she very well may be that player that takes them to another level. So I enjoy watching her play. I'm going to celebrate her. I'm going to celebrate her because I do believe she's going to be coming to my area. And I'm going to be taking one of my daughters to watch Fever games because of Caitlin Clark.
Breaking news coming in from the chat. Apparently, according to Gene, the Bucks have just extended Mike Evans. God damn you, Mike Evans. You're blowing up segments here on the morning show. We were supposed to talk about you later on today. So we're still going to talk about you later on. But breaking news, apparently the Bucks extend Mike Evans. So we will certainly get to that a little bit later. We also got some Baker Mayfield stuff to talk about later, and that's all going to be related to this Mike Evans news. So more to come on that. But right now, let's press the JG button and let's get JG in here. JG is on the show this morning. He's brought to you by Sports Empire Network. If you're not checking out what's happening over at Sports Empire Network, make sure that you are doing that. JG, welcome to the show this morning, sir. How are you?
Doing good. Good morning, guys. How are y'all?
Hey, morning, JG.
So, JG, another domino falls. Chapman signs with the Giants. It appears that as we are getting closer to the start of the regular season, the Giants have all the money because no one took their money earlier. And now it appears that everyone's going to be getting some Giants money. 3 years, I believe it was $54 million. So let's start with Chapman. What did you make of the deal? Was it a fair deal based on the market?
Yeah, it's a fair deal based off of the timing. And I want to say the market. I mean, again, you're talking about a platinum glove winner, gold glove, a perennial gold glove winner throughout his career, one of the best third basemen that we have in the game today. The one knock about him is he's inconsistent on his hitting side. We've seen a lot of great third basemen that play good defense, but they also can hit. You're talking about a guy who's a career 240 hitter. And that's something that you have to consider. He's not going to be a leader in your lineup in regards of big hits here and there, going to drive the ball all over the place and produce for you on a consistent basis. But he is going to play really good defense. He'll win a gold glove for you. He'll lock down third base, which is something that the Giants have had a hole in the last couple of years. They did have Evan Longoria for a good portion of time for a few years back, but since they've had a little bit of a hole trying to figure out who's going to play the third base for them, and this is something that they're going to get. Like I said, really good defense, a guy who can hit, and produce for you at times, but not as consistent as you're hoping. For someone who wanted a big contract, for someone who is talked about in the conversation of some of the better third basemen in the game, he hasn't really been the consistent basis that we see of third basemen like Manny Machado and Austin Riley. We haven't seen that side of him on the offensive side, but defensively, he's a lockdown third baseman. He's going to fit in really well in San Francisco.
Now we have other news coming out about Blake Snell. It appears that Snell has narrowed down who he wants to play for. It looks like it's going to be a West Coast team, either the Angels or the aforementioned San Francisco Giants. It looks like Snell is probably going to follow suit with his predecessors in the Boris 4, taking a shorter deal with a higher annual value. Who is he a better fit for? The Giants, who look like are taking advantage of the players who did not sign early, or the Angels, who they need players? They got Trout. That's about all they got over there. Trout did come out last week and say, listen, I'm loyal, but you need to put a team around me. Well, Mike, you had the best player in baseball, the most generational player in, the past 20, 30, or 40 years, and you didn't do anything with him. I don't know what more the Angels could put around you once Shohei Ohtani walks out the door and you look at it and say, okay, I see what we're doing here. I don't think Snell is that guy, JG. I don't think if Snell walks through the door, Trout's like, okay, now we're cooking over here. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he likes himself a little Blake. Where do you think is the best fit for Blake Snell?
But it's difficult because if you say as far as for the division that he would be in, the division itself would be better in the American League West because, yes, you have the Astros and Rangers. Rangers just won the World Series, but the Rangers still have some pieces that we're not really sure how are they going to be competitive to win their division. The Astros are the older team right now. At some point, they will fall off the table. It's what we expect here in the next couple of years. But at the same time, a team that's competitive, that can be competitive now for a playoff spot in 2024, that will be the San Francisco Giants. The National League is a tough road right now. There's a lot of good teams. I think the American League is a little bit weaker than the National League, but a team that's positioned better would be the Giants at this moment, where he can come in and be the 1A, 1B with Logan Webb. You would now have a rotation of Snell, Webb, and also Alex Cobb as your 1, 2, 3. That's actually pretty good, especially in the division where you're going to be facing against Tyler Glass now, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and then you have Walker Buehler back as well with the Dodgers. You have Zach Gallen, Eduardo Rodriguez, and I can't remember this first. Oh, Merrill Kelly was the other one for the 3. So a division that has 2 teams at the top with 3 really good pitchers on their staff. If you're the Giants, you need to match that, and that would be a Blake Snell to pair with Webb and Cobb as your 1, 2, 3. I think that would be a really good fit for the Giants to be able to do that. Overall, like I said, for the team itself, because of how much weaker the American League is, the division is a little bit weaker as far as it's really top heavy. I think that would be the Angels in that consideration. But overall, for what you're going to get with a team that's more competitive, it would be the San Francisco Giants.
JG, breaking news here in the morning show. Zach Wheeler has signed an extension with the Phillies. It is a multi-year deal. The terms have not yet been released, but this is going to keep Wheeler in Philadelphia past next season when he was set to hit the free agent market. It is also going to kick in his 10-5 rights. Obviously, if as a Braves fan, you would prefer to see talent leave your division as opposed to hang out in your division. Initial thoughts to the breaking news that Wheeler is going to remain in Philadelphia.
I have to see what the details of the contract is. But it's a good move for the Phillies because he has provided them consistency. And something that Aaron Nola has not done as much for his career in Philadelphia. Zach Wheeler has provided that for them, where he has been essentially the best pitcher on the staff during his duration in Philadelphia. So I think this was a great move for the Phillies to do so. Obviously, it depends on how long it is. He is 33 years old. We are talking about at times with you guys that, pitchers, particularly as they get older and with the new rules that we are seeing in the game, may have a shorter shelf life. So if it's a 5-year deal, by the 36, 37, 38 years old at the point of his career, how much more effective is he going to be? But for right now, for the short term, with their window being what it is, that they are championship contending, they are a World Series contending team. You keep Wheeler not just for this year but beyond. It keeps that window open. And that's the goal for the Phillies, just like it is for the Braves, just like it is for the Astros, just like it is for the Rangers, just like it is for all the Dodgers. You're trying to make sure you keep your window open with the core that you have around you. And the Phillies are doing that. They have their good, strong core with Harper, Trey Turner, Aaron Nola, Real Muto. And so you're able to keep this window open by extending Wheeler and agreeing to the deal and not letting him even get close to free agency, because he would garner, as we're talking about older pitchers, he would still have some suitors that would be interested in him for in free agency. So it's a great move by not only Wheeler but also by the Phillies to lock him up now.
It's 3 years, $126 million on the extension, JG.
I think that's a great move. I think that's the right number of years for Wheeler. At the same time, the right number of years for the Phillies to agree upon. Great move by both sides.
Apparently, there's a lot of traction that Jordan Montgomery is heading to Boston. Obviously, Boston could use some pitching. We thought he was going to go to Texas. That appears to be losing momentum. The Yankees don't seem to be interested in Jordan Montgomery. Apparently, they think they're going to get the pitcher from the White Sox at the trade deadline. We'll see how that goes. But if you are Boston, you are bringing in Jordan Montgomery. He pitched well last season. He was a part of the championship Texas Rangers. Is this a needle mover for the Boston Red Sox, who haven't made a ton of moves during the offseason, but it's never a bad thing to add quality pitching to the rotation, JG?
I'm not going to say it's a needle mover because there's so many issues that the Red Sox have still with this roster, with this team, that it does help. As you said, they do need pitching. They do need some help in that side of it. Montgomery is not an ace, though. He is a number 2, number 3. I mean, he was a number 2 in the Rangers when they traded for him. He pitched really well that you could say he might be an ace. He could be a number 1. But throughout his career, he's always been a number 2 or number 3, whether it was in St. Louis or when he was with the Rangers. So is he someone that you're going to sit there and say, man, we can give the ball to him and we're going to look at it, we're going to win the game? Not particularly. And you're going to get a good start from him. You're going to get a quality start. You're going to get a chance to win a game. Then that's what a number 2 is. Number 2 is going to say is a guy who number 2, number 3 is a guy that will get a quality start to give you a chance to win a game. Number 1 is we are going to win this game. He's going to shut down the opponent. We will win this game. There's a difference right there. So I think it's a good move for Boston because they do need pitching. They're very desperate for pitching right now. It's not it's not a needle mover to sit there and say, okay, the Red Sox can actually be a contender in 2024 instead of being a last place team in the American League East. I think that this kind of helps them. It kind of does push them to be a little bit more competitive, but I just don't know if this is still enough. And again, if they're able to get Dylan Cease later on in the year, that might be a boost. The help as the bullpen gets a little bit, as the rotation gets deeper. But at the moment right now with the Montgomery potentially signing, it's interesting, but not exciting.
JG, $42 million AAV for Zach Wheeler. Does this have any impact on Blake Snell as he narrows down his teams? We know he's been hanging out there because he wants big money and he's not getting big money. Does he look at Zach Wheeler and say, God, I just won the Cy Young. I just won the Cy Young Award. I've won it twice. I've come off of my long-term big money deal. I said I'll go short-term, but I want the big AAV. Now someone else in the pitching world just landed $42 million a year on his extension. Does Snell look at that and does he want Wheeler money because Wheeler just signed?
Now that I hear the annual value of the contract, I think it's a little bit absurd for Wheeler because, again, as great as Wheeler is, have we ever really considered Wheeler to be one of the great pitchers in the game, the elite pitchers? I haven't, but against the Phillies do value him to be as such. Absolutely it does. Absolutely for Blake Snell, you look at it and say, okay, I need something in that ballpark too. Because at the same time, not only being a 2-time Cy Young winner, but Snell's 2 years younger than Wheeler. He'll be 31 this year. Wheeler's 33. Wheeler will be, I'm looking at it right now, he'll be 34 in May. So you're talking about, again, 2-3 years younger than what Zach Wheeler is. So the age should not be an issue in as far as question mark. The skill set is better as far as just what he's been able to achieve throughout his career. Snell has. So absolutely, if I'm Snell, I'm looking at it and say, yeah, I'll sign a 3-year deal, but I want $45 million. At this point, I have the credentials. I'm younger than that, and by the way, you're going to get an ace. That's been an ace his entire career everywhere he's been, whether it's been in Tampa Bay or in San Diego. So absolutely, it does affect. And again, it could be an issue in the conversation. Maybe the team will just all the teams are going to be like, no, we're not balking on that. We'll go to 40, but we're not going to 45. So and that point is it's pride for Snell to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to be paid $40 million, but I'm still less than Zach Wheeler. I'm still less than a 40-year-old Jacob DeGrom or a 40-year-old Max Scherzer. I'm still less than a 40-year-old Justin Verlander. I think that would be a little bit hurtful to my pride, but at the same time, I need to be in camp. I need to be in spring training. I need to get myself ready to go. So at some point, I'm going to have to swallow my pride and go for it.
One last note, as information is continuing to come in on the Zach Wheeler deal, apparently there are no opt-outs in the deal, in case any Philly fans listening are wondering. But JG, before we get out of here, I have just a general baseball question for you, an opinion question for you. How do you feel about the bat flip? Because we know you are a traditionalist when it comes to baseball, and Mo and I would argue the bat flip is anything but traditional. So where does JG stand on the bat flip?
So I'll say that I never bat flipped when I played, because here's the one reason why. I've seen it happen before. Guy bat flips, he stares, hits a shot, stares it down, walks out the box, flips the bat, and it falls in front of the base of the wall. That was always my fear. I was so terrified of looking like a jackass by walking, flipping, staring it down, and then hitting a single or a fly out, and everybody's looking at you like, what in the hell were you doing? I hit one of my furthest balls I hit in the game was about 462 feet. I took off running because I was still like, I knew I got it. I knew I hit it. I had everything on it. I knew it was gone. But that fear in my head took over. You better run just in case. You better run. Ball clears the scoreboard in college. It was a shot that went. It cleared over the scoreboard in college. Again, nobody moved. Everybody just turned, watched it. Nobody took a step. And the only person actually running was me on the field to go to first base. I was so scared to flip, to be able to show. And at the same time, I did play with respect. Even when players didn't respect me, I still showed respect. I still, I didn't do the smack talk. And unless I was absolutely provoked, I will say that. Unless I was absolutely 100% provoked, I didn't smack talk. But I'm not a fan. I get let the boys be boys. Let them have fun. I get it. I understand that it's the generation that we are in right now in sports. Oh, they're playing a kid's game. Let them have. I get it. Okay. And I don't mind that, especially if, again, it's hard to be respectful when you bat flip. I get it. I'll say this. Pick your moments to do a bat flip. In May, in a regular season game in May, no. No. I don't. In October, sure. Again, and I know Gene in the chat can attest. He's seen it. He's seen bat flips or bat slams by Rio Muto or Hoskins or Harper. Staring down a home run. So I know he'll agree on that side of it, because it is the emotional side of the game at that point. I'm fine with it. I never looked at it when Hoskins slammed the bat down in 2022 on the home run that they hit in the NLDS against us. I didn't have a problem with it, because that is the emotional side of the postseason game. He threw out Jose Bautista against the Rangers in 2015. I have no problem with it, because that is the emotional side of a postseason game, a game that matters. Don't have a problem. But if you bat flip in April, or if you bat flip in May, in a regular season game that we still have 105 games still to play, I have a big problem with that, because there's no reason at that point of it. If you have a postseason opportunity to do it, and you made a big clutch hit and it's taking the lead or anything like that, great. Do it. I have zero. Launch the damn bat all the way, to the moon for all I care at that point. But like I said, pick your moments to do it, to let loose the emotion. Again, this is an emotional game. You're allowed to have emotions in this game. We're not robots. Anybody who sits there and says, no, you shouldn't show emotions in baseball. No, you can show emotions in basketball. You can show emotions in football. You can show emotions you show emotions in golf. We see Tiger Woods show emotions in golf. Why can we not have emotions in baseball when we make a big hit, clutch hit, or whatnot in a meaningful game? By all means, let these kids, and even let the big leaguers, let them show emotions. This is supposed to be, it's their livelihood at that point too. But pick your moments when it matters to do so.
JG, always appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow morning, sir.
As always, appreciate it, guys.
JG.
Make sure you're checking out JG over at Sports Empire Network. They got a lot of great things happening over there. Make sure you're checking out the Empire. Mike Evans just screwing up my morning show lineup this morning. I had a Baker segment lined up. I had a separate Mike Evans segment lined up. Now I got my team in the back rearranging things, Mo. You know how the team gets when we make them rearrange things last minute. They get cranky at us. So now they're back there working their magic. We'll get to some NFL stuff in a minute. But, Mo, I want to go here next. Some weird, I think it's weird. You're a little closer to it than I am, so I want to get your take on it. I know there's always going to be LeBron James haters out there, and most of the time when it comes to fans, I just kind of ignore their LeBron takes because most of them come from a hateful place. And I'm a big believer in that I don't really value your take if I know you hate LeBron James. So when you're giving me a LeBron take and you're calling him a crybaby or you're using other profanities in there, immediately I disregard your take because your take's filled with emotion. And if your emotion is I already hate him, then I don't really value what you have to say because you're not coming from a place that isn't filled with bias. I saw a take from Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith had a very abbreviated take on a bigger take that I've been seeing making its rounds on social media involving LeBron James. And that has to do with this perceived notion that LeBron struggles in big moments, not playoff moments, just in general big moments. Let me break it down for you. So Stephen talked about opening night, the Lakers lose to the Nuggets. Kobe's statue is revealed, the Lakers lose. LeBron surpasses 40,000 points, the Lakers lose. Now that moment was taken and made a little bit bigger by some other, I'm going to say it straight out, people who probably don't like LeBron James. But here's what they came up with. Going back from the past couple of seasons, actually going back through some bigger moments. So he loses his NBA debut. First game as a Heat, he loses. When he hit the 10,000 rebounds, they lost. 10,000 assists, he lost. 30,000 points, surpassing MJ in scoring, surpassing Kobe in scoring. Kobe tribute night, 35,000 points, all-time leader in points, surpassing Malone in scoring, surpassing Kareem in scoring. Christmas Day this year, his birthday, all losses. Now, obviously, we're cherry picking, right, Mo?
That's exactly what they're doing.
We're cherry picking for sure. But within that are some of his biggest individual moments of his career, right? When he's setting all these scoring marks, he's passing all these people on these all-time lists. But the other side of it is, well, these are regular season games. Who's he playing? Who's he playing with? Is his team even healthy? Is this a Wednesday night in Toronto? We always talk about Wednesday nights in Toronto, Mo.
Right.
Who's playing? If he's playing Wednesday night in Toronto, the next question is who's not playing? Because why is LeBron playing Wednesday night in Toronto? Those are usually the games he takes off. So obviously, as a player, when you're having all these accolades and you're moving up these lists and you're setting all these marks, sure, you would probably like to do that while you're winning a game. But at the same time, Mo, there's so much else that goes into those games and into those moments. This isn't a playoff game. This isn't a playoff series. That I look at it and I think happenstance. Happenstance. Because
I like that term.
Right? Like, because at the end of the day, it was, he lost 35,000 points. He lost to the Nets. Did the Nets game really matter? Who was playing? Like, I don't look at that. I'm like, well, whoo-hoo, that game he lost to the Nets when he hit 35,000, that's a black eye. It's not, though. Well, we look at that and we say, who did he get 35,000 against? The Nets. They were a train wreck. You know what I mean? Like, that's the narrative there. So for me, I look at it and I'm like, who cares? Because that's not LeBron's measured by the individual statistics he achieves and the championships that he wins. He's the all-time leading scorer. Doesn't matter if his team won or lost in that game. He's the all-time leading scorer, bro. Like, I couldn't have told you. Like, if you sat down and you put $1 million in front of me and you said, all right, Chris, all you got to do is tell me if LeBron won or lost these 5 games. and you knocked off his 5 biggest ones when he passed these 2 people, when he got the all-time scoring, when he passed I honestly would not have been able to. I would have had to have guessed on all of them. Now, maybe I'm a lucky guesser because they're all 50-50, but Mo, I can honestly say I would not have known for sure any of those answers, because at that point, the game doesn't matter. At that point, the lead is what LeBron did, not whether his team won or lost that game. So for me, again, I say it's happenstance. I think it's coincidental, and I think it's non-consequential because it doesn't matter in the bigger picture. But that's for me.
It doesn't matter in the bigger picture. And, his critics will cherry pick. They played the Nuggets the other night, the night that he went for 40,000 points. And I believe he scored 26 or 28 points, had like 9 assists. He played well. The Lakers lost, but they didn't lose because he didn't play well, right? He not only went over 40,000, they lost. And by the way, they lost to the defending world champions, right? It does matter who you're competing against. The Nuggets have had the Lakers number over the last year, so I think they've won 7 straight versus the Lakers. They're just a better basketball team. So I don't get caught up in that. I'm with you. We're judging him on his individual greatness, the individual great statistics that he's achieving, the world championships that he's won, the finals MVPs that he's won. What is he? He's now a 19-time NBA All-Star. I think he's like a 19-time All-NBA player, which he's totally blown that out the water. And I'm sure somebody will go, did you know that he lost that All-Star? I don't care about the All-Star. Well, first of all, let's be honest, it's not a game. It's not a game. So if you're going to credit somebody for those kind of wins, I'm not counting that at all. I'm not counting stuff where somebody starts cracking 200 points. I'm not doing that. I'm going to look at his overall career and acknowledge how great he's been for the league, for fans, the ones who truly enjoy basketball and don't make it personal, like him. That's the funny part. They act like something about that guy. I don't even know him. You don't even know him. I don't get that. Look, we can have a debate about the greatest and all that. That's fine, and it's fun sometimes. But sometimes you can just step back, be objective, and give him credit for what he's done and what he's continuing to do right now. I like to judge players on their ability. I've also judged them on the impact they've had on the game. He's been a great representative for the NBA for over 20 years.
Mo, is it fair to think about, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Mo, when LeBron has these moments, think about the team dynamic. The whole team knows what's going to happen in that game, right? LeBron's hitting 35,000 tonight. LeBron's hitting 40,000 tonight. LeBron's going to pass this guy tonight. Who is getting in LeBron's way that game? Who is not? You know what I mean? Like, in a regular season game, no matter what team he is on for the most part, it usually goes through LeBron regardless, right? Correct. But I feel like on the nights where LeBron's about to make some history, doesn't it really go through LeBron that night? Like, no,
I'm with you.
I would argue that, and some people will take this as a negative. I take it as just an unintended consequence. In those moments, the game plan is probably a little off.
It gets thrown out.
The other players are probably a little off because what is the actual focus of that game tonight? This is LeBron's night. LeBron's going to pass 35,000 tonight. LeBron's passing Kareem tonight. LeBron's passing Kobe tonight. The celebration is queued up. We got the videos ready. The Bryant family is in the house. Kareem is here tonight to play. Like that's the focus. The game almost becomes a back seat because you're honoring and appreciating greatness as it happens. So once the moment is over, then it's like, okay, where are we in the game? And I don't have the numbers in front of me, Mo, but I guarantee you at some point, some of those games were already gone. Some of those games were already out the window, and it's okay because that wasn't the focus coming into the game. And Mo, I think we're on the same page here. We both value greatness, and I'm okay losing a meaningless game on a Tuesday night because you focus more on a historical achievement that night than you did on focusing on the game plan and the X's and O's. Unintended consequences. Sure, you would love to win the game, but at the same time, let's be honest, Mo, what are all the people there to see? When you know LeBron is 22 points away from doing something, the ball's going to go to LeBron until he gets those 22 points.
1,000%. He's not going to be passing the ball to Jackson Hayes in the corner or Taurean Prince. You want LeBron to achieve. And you're right. I think people get lost in the fact that it has a huge impact on his teammates. They know what's going on. The game plan is not the same. Look, I watched the game they lost the other night to the Nuggets, where he scored 40, crossed the 40,000 point barrier. They were actually playing well, and then he achieves that, and I felt like it took the air out of them. They got real flat. The Nuggets came back, walked them down, and dominated the fourth quarter and ended up winning. But I do think those things can have an effect on you, because the moment is bigger than the game. The game becomes the secondary thing. And look, all great players have lost some milestone moments, or they've had milestone moments that covered up things where you're like, wow, I didn't even think about that. Like, I think, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, Kobe Bryant might have had the greatest last game of a career than any basketball player ever, right? Maybe his last game where he dropped 60 in a win against the Jazz. But if you looked at his entire season, it was a horrible season.
Right.
He was horrible that season. But that last game masked all that, and that's all that matters, and that was the takeaway. So I get it. I think the problem with LeBron is he's been so polarizing. People just can't let the guy live. They can't.
And let's not forget, Mo, not only some of these games were on the road. Don't think that the Portland fans weren't paying good money to go see that game that night because of what LeBron was going to do.
For sure.
So if they go into that, we need to rest LeBron. We need to win this game. Let's pull him out. I know he's only 6 points away, and then he misses it by 2 points. You don't think Portland fans are walking out of that game pissed because they just spent, $200 or $300 more per ticket because they were gonna see history, and then they didn't because the Lakers valued winning the game over making sure LeBron got. See, that's what I'm talking about, Mo. Because even the other team's fans are paying more to come see history. So just let the history happen.
And that's the beauty of it, right?
Let the chips fall where they may.
That's the beauty of it. You forget about that. The other team's fans are there to say, I was there that night, right? That's what you want to be able to say. I was in the building the night that I'm sure somebody said I was in the building when Wilt scored 100 points. I was there, right? Somebody was there. You want to say you were there the night that Kobe dropped 81 against the Raptors, because that's history, those kind of things. When LeBron achieves these milestones, like you said, I know those tickets are through the roof and they want to be there. Like, this guy's getting ready to crack 45. I think LeBron James has a real shot when it's all said and done. He might end up scoring 45,000 points, and that's insane to think. And I wish I had the money to say, yeah, I was in the building. I was in the building that night.
And Mo, no one goes, but wait a minute, aren't you a Portland fan? No one follows it up with but you don't even like LeBron. They're just like, damn, I wish I was there.
Right. That's all that matters. Right.
Mo, last night, one of the greatest entertainers in the world of sports entertainment in all of professional wrestling hung up the boots, hung up the tights. Sting had his last match at AEW Revolution. It was a barn burner for sure. Lots of big spots. Lots of people were involved. His sons were there. Ric Flair was there. It was quite the spectacular for AEW. But we're not going to talk Sting necessarily. We're going to talk about the hate that WWE received this weekend, because WWE, and we don't know the exact details, we just know the end result. The end result is that WWE did not give AEW footage from their archives. They own the WCW archives, which are obviously very big for Sting in his career. They obviously own their own archives, and Sting was in WWE for about a year and a half. He had a few things happen in WWE. And then they own some smaller territory archives that had some Sting footage as well. Those videos were not parts of the big tribute video that AEW put together for Sting. They had still shots. There were some still shots from his WCW days in the video presentation, but WWE did not give them any of the actual video footage, which has created, Mo, a complete uproar in the internet wrestling community about how WWE sucks. They should just have given the footage to AEW. Sting is, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. They did Sting wrong. This was further fueled by some comments that Kevin Nash made. Kevin Nash apparently was invited to be in attendance at AEW Revolution, and the initial report was that WWE told him he couldn't, and then he came out and said that it was his choice not to attend because he is currently a WWE employee, and it doesn't sit right with him as a WWE employee to be on AEW television because they would show him, and he didn't feel right about that. Mo, I think we can read between the lines. He was probably told not to go, or he was probably strongly encouraged not to go.
Wouldn't be a good look.
It wouldn't be a good look. So, Mo, and I might be on the wrong side of this. I might have the unpopular opinion here, but for me, I'm okay with it because I don't think that WWE owes Sting anything. You remember forever, Sting was the guy that wasn't going to go to WWE. Sting was the guy that refused to go to WWE. Sting didn't need WWE. And then he finally did, and it didn't go as planned, and it wasn't that great for anyone involved. And then he wanted to keep wrestling, and WWE was like, we can't clear you. Like, we don't think it's a good idea. And then obviously he got himself cleared, and he did the whole AEW thing. But aside from that, and maybe it is personal, Mo. Maybe WWE are just D-bags, and they're taking an emotional, personal stance. It could be. But at the same time, business is business. And
why would I help you out?
Correct.
Why would I do that? Why would I do that?
And my question is this, and I don't have the answer to this, and I looked for it this morning and I couldn't find it. We don't have a confirmation of, did Tony ask? Now, obviously, WWE knows they would take it, and most people are taking the stance of Tony shouldn't have to ask. WWE should just give them the footage. They know it's Sting's last match. They know it's his retirement. They should just do the right thing, give the footage to AEW so they can use it, whether or not Tony asked or not. But again, I look back at it and I go, business is business. If Tony didn't ask, then my stance is no. They should not have given it. Now, maybe Tony did ask, and they just said no because they don't like Tony Khan, because WWE lives rent-free in Tony Khan's head, right, and he's bashing them every chance he gets. But Chris, they let Billy Gunn be a part of the DX Hall of Fame. They let Chris Jericho and some other guys be a part of John Cena's video tribute for his 20 years in wrestling. Fair is fair. Business is business. That's great. Tony Khan, that was great of you. But that was also like a year and a half ago. Let's talk about what you've done for me recently, which is bash my company every opportunity that you get. So maybe they were just on better terms a year and a half ago when people were being on Cena's videos. Or, Mo, again, things we don't know. Maybe Chris Jericho and those couple of guys that were over there went to Tony Khan and said, listen, we're going to do this for John. We're friends outside of this. Me and John go way back. You're not going to stop. Maybe it wasn't necessarily Tony Khan saying, yes, you can have them. Maybe it was the talent saying, we're going to do this. John and I are boys. We got a lot of history. We're going to do this.
And if you got the clout of the talent,
Tony rolled over.
Right.
Because we know that in AEW, Tony is like one of the boys. He rolls over a lot for the big names in AEW. So I get there's a lot of unknown here, Mo, but let's go with what we do know. And I'm going to take the stance of WWE has no obligation just to do it because it's the perceived right thing to do. Now, would it have been nice if they did? Sure, it would have been nice. Do I think it took away from the moment? No, I don't think it took away from the moment. I think it is what it is. And maybe, Mo, in the back of their minds, WWE was like, it's unfortunate that this is where Sting's wrapping his career up. Maybe they felt that it should have been them. I don't know.
That sounds like WWE, right? they're like Sting deserved better, right? That's how they think. Sting deserves better. Look, I have no problem with anything that the WWE had chosen to do in that situation. I followed Sting his whole career. He was there a hot minute, and he didn't have any impact when he was there.
Zero.
By the way, if you really know the backstory, and I know you do and others do, that most guys that came from NWA or WCW that were huge stars, for whatever reason, they basically got them and they muffled them, or they buried them, and it was done on purpose. You can't tell me it wasn't. That's just how petty they were. That's what they did. Look, one of the most embarrassing things, and I know we're getting off track, as a wrestling fan for me, was what Vince and them did to Dusty Rhodes. Mm-hmm. They turned a guy that was known not just a great performer, but one of the toughest guys in wrestling, and they put him in polka dots and gave him some theme music and some valet, and they made him into kind of a clown. And that just drove me crazy. But again, that was WWE did petty stuff like that. They did. But to get back to the point, are they wrong for not helping them out and giving them footage? No. Why would I? You're the competition. Sting doesn't work for us, and we own the footage. It's as simple as that. And it's funny you brought that up because I'm currently watching old WWE footage. I am watching the beginning of the Attitude Era. I just watched the episode in which Stone Cold and Mike Tyson almost got into it. You know, that whole little thing. I'm backtracking as a wrestling fan, but look, it is a business decision that WWE and the powers that be made, and for them to get trolled for it, I don't understand that because they don't owe Sting anything.
One of the wildest things about that interaction between Austin and Mike Tyson is that's real money that flies out of his pockets. Mike Tyson was literally rolling deep with thousands of dollars in cash inside of his suit pocket.
I did not know that
while
was
he
money.
was on live TV.
Wow.
Because if you go back and you watch some of the documentaries on it, Tyson's people were trying to scrounge and get the money because it was real money. Wow. So that's just Mike Tyson for you, baby. I'm going to walk around with thousands in my breast pocket because I can.
I did not know that. I literally just saw that scene last night, and I did not know that was real money.
Mo, great way to open a Monday. Let's close this out, sir.
Thank you guys for everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody who's supporting Chris and I. Check out all the great content that we have to offer for you guys at the Wire to Wire Network. Hey, give us a listen, a like, a sub, a follow. We appreciate you. Check us out.
Hey, make sure you're back here same time, same place tomorrow. We have a lot of NFL stuff to talk about. We're going to get into Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. We're going to talk about the wide receiver position with the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to talk about the newest addition to the San Francisco 49ers, Brandon Staley. We'll get Mo's take on that. All of that and more. Same time, same place. It's Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire.